You go for Starliner.
Farmer, at step 4.8, we just wanted to confirm, double check that the hatch equalization valve 1, that cap is secured away from the valve, and we were going to offer up just using a piece of tape, any kind, doesn't matter what tape.
Okay, and you said on valve 1, right, is the one we're talking about?
Affirmative. HEV, hatch equalization valve 1.
Okay, copy, standby 1.
Really incredible views that we're getting inside the Starliner spacecraft with those Mustang interior cameras. 4 of them. We'll have them on board the crew flight test. Have been iterating on that system to hopefully get some near real-time or real-time views when we actually have crew on board and headed to the International Space Station.
And Houston Starliner, valve 1 cap is taped to the side of the valve, and valve 2 is the cap is being installed right now.
Copy, good config on both, thanks, Farmer.
Shell maneuvering the IVA hatch into place, doing some fit checks. The hatch itself weighs about 100 pounds, so not heavy and certainly no weight in space, but just working through how to maneuver with it.
As astronaut Bob Hines supporting the operations all along the way, camera in hand, he'll be photographing the hatch for documentation purposes so the teams on the ground can analyze every step of the way. Of course, this hatch closure comes the day before undocking. The crew will continue to work throughout tonight after the hatch is securely shut. You can see Chell maneuvering the latch now.
And through the window of the IVA hatch, you can kind of see a silhouette in there. Chell will make 1 1/4 of a turn to get that hatch closed in nice and tight. And this is the first time astronauts are working with the IVA hatch on orbit. They have been able to practice here on the ground at training facilities at Johnson Space Center. But certainly working through these here on orbit is a little bit different and all about the process of how we'll do it when astronauts are on board on the other side.
Part of the procedure here is positioning the hatch in such a way so that they can turn the handle, like you said, 1 1/4 turns. There are guides available on the station side of the hatch, 4 guides that allow them to monitor their position as they get it fully engaged.
Starliner Houston on 2 for Farmer hatch when able.
Over Farmer.
Hey Farmer, just following along in the video. The hatch itself, we're hearing looks to be in a good config. What we were going to offer up is to try to make sure that the kicker dogs that are on the flat side of the hatch, and when you position the hatch, they need to be on the inside of the vehicle, inside of Starliner.
Okay, so from our side, they're on the interior side of the vehicle. So are you saying that maybe we're pulling the hatch closed too far?
Yeah, that is one way of thinking about it. Your first statement is correct. The kicker dog's on the inside vehicle side of Starliner, and so potentially it has been pulled in too far. That's the first thing that we thought when we're looking at the video.
Okay, sounds good. We'll take a look at that.
Those kicker dogs that were discussed between ground controllers and the International Space Station crew members were something that we mentioned with hatch open, almost like built-in butter knives to get into the Starliner or open the hatch when this phenomenon known as the suction cup effect happens. So almost provide just a little bit of relief between the systems. So they just want to make sure those are in the right spot so that we can get a good latch. During a post-docking news conference, Commercial Crew Program Manager Steve Stitch described the behavior of the Starliner spacecraft and said that it was very patient and took everything in stride. And I think this is another opportunity to say that is definitely the behavior of the Starliner spacecraft as the teams are working through this hatch closure. Patient, and learning as much as we can before astronauts fly on board.
All the more reason that this is a flight test. They write the procedures, they practice on the ground, they learn how to do it in space, and that can be applied. That can be applied for the next time when we have crew on board the Boeing Starliner. Wait until. Wait until it gets.
Houston Station, CST 100 IVA hatch is closed.
Starliner Houston, we copy. Starliner hatch closed. Thank you.
Station flight controllers have been watching along with us here on this video, and there was an audible woohoo when station's hatch was closed.
Very good. And that hatch closure time comes right at the top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central Time. The International Space Station and Boeing Starliner with 262 statute miles over Belgium.
You can see them here talking about the process to close the hatch, so I'm sure our teams are going to be very interested to see how things went, how they can update the procedure so that we just get better every single time.
All right, with that, again, the Boeing Starliner's hatch is closed 2 p.m. Central Time. Now, this is not the last thing that the crew members will do, though it will wrap up our coverage today. With that hatch closed, there are 2 more hatches that need to be closed on the station side. The first is the APAS hatch. You can sort of see it deeper down that tube, which is the pressurized mating adapter, right now covered with a white cover. That cover will be removed, and the station astronauts will close that hatch, as well as the hatch that will outline that square marker at the forward end of your screen. That's the Node 2 forward hatch. With all of those closed, they'll depressurize the vestibule in between the Boeing Starliner and the International Space Station and perform some leak checks, all ahead of tomorrow's undocking. Before we wrap up our coverage today, we did want to make sure that you tuned in for our coverage of Starliner's undocking and return back to planet Earth. It all starts tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time, tomorrow, Wednesday the 25th, where we will start our coverage of the undocking sequence. Undocking right now is scheduled for 2:36 p.m. Eastern, 1:36 p.m. Central Time. Physical separation from the International Space Station. Shortly after they exit the approach ellipsoid, we'll break our coverage, and we will return later that evening at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:45 p.m. Central Time to begin our coverage for the deorbit burn and entry through the Earth's atmosphere and return in the western United States. Right now, we're targeting the White Sands Space Harbor for our primary landing site. Weather is looking good for that primary landing site. That return, if you are following along and you are watching our coverage, if you're If you're if you're in the trajectory of that return, it's going to be an upwards trajectory. So if it'll pass over Baja, you might be able to catch a glimpse as it returns back to planet Earth. That touchdown time in the western United States in the desert is scheduled for 6:49 p.m. Eastern, 5:49 p.m. Central. If you're in Mountain Time, 4:49 p.m. So check out the trajectory, and you might be able to see a glimpse. The views of our coverage should be spectacular. But like I said, weather is looking good, and it'll be late afternoon, early evening coverage. We'll get some good daylight as we cover the landing sequence.
For Cheller Farmer and Timeline. HL, we're thinking we want you to, of course, continue with the APAS and Node 2 hatch closures, and likely that would go in the DPC timeframe, so you can skip the DPC, and then once you're done with the hatch closures, touch base with us, and then we can you can let us know if the feedback conference is still something that you can do with us, and we'll touch base at that time.
Copy all. I'll continue with hatch closures. Understand that I may miss DPC, and I think Farmer and I are good to do the feedback conference after DPC.
All right, we appreciate you wanting still to do that.